People who knew famous serial killers before they were caught, what were they like? I briefly had a friend who seemed normal at first, but started losing control with all kinds of drugs and booze, doing really stupid and dangerous shit. I and a couple of friends decided not to hang out with him anymore because we didn't want to be around when he really fucked up. We just knew he'd do something terrible one day. There seemed to be no way to help him/calm him down. One night, he wanted to come and hang out, but we told him to stay home and not drive in the intoxicated state he was in. That night, he bludgeoned and suffocated his grandmother to death. About 10 years before he murdered 2 young women, he came to our house on his bicycle with a chipmunk he had hung with a rope and was swinging it around and acting weird. My brother and I were home alone, and it was one time I knew my brother was scared. We kept the doors locked. He peed in our grill and left. The whole time he was yelling, but I'm not sure it was at us. Spent a summer in Ames, Iowa, with some family. Jeffrey Dahmer was a neighbor, a family friend. My cousin and I built a haunted house out of a playhouse in the backyard. Mostly, we blindfolded the neighborhood kids and led them through. We had a bowl of grapes with some oil on them and shoved the kids' hands into it and told it was eyeballs. We formed cold, congealed spaghetti into what we told them were brains. I personally led Jeffrey through, and every time someone says his name, I wonder if I was the cause of his problems. I'm probably relatively unique in that I know 3 people on death row, and 1 other murderer. The first one was a completely horrible human being. Threatened my life in high school, and I always figured he would kill someone in a bar fight. Instead, him and 2 friends went, and he had one of them kill the husband while he chased the wife down and shot her in the back. I was called to testify for the prosecution at his last death penalty trial. He was huge and scary as hell, and a truly, truly horrible human being. Based on the testimony I heard, he still is. The second one was kind of an odd guy, but pretty nice. I played Starfleet battles with him. He and a friend killed a lady. No idea why. He seemed more of a follower than a leader, and that's pretty much how the murder went down. Still on death row. The third guy was more friends with my ex-wife. He even watched our kids a couple of times. Quiet and seemed friendly. The last guy I knew in high school, he was pretty quiet and read westerns a lot. Being a big book reader, I chatted a few times. He seemed very nice. One day, he took a shotgun to school and at lunch shot the guy convicted of molesting his brother. He ended up getting a slap on the wrist for it. I felt he should have gotten a medal knowing the details that came out. I suspect the judge gave him the least he could. A few years ago, I went to a gas station late at night and ran into an old friend, a guy I knew had been serving time for some heinous shit. He stabbed his father while tripping on LSD. I heard he got out, and he and I were cool, so I didn't think much of it. He was with another dude, and right away, the sight of the 2 of them sitting outside a gas station at a payphone made me uneasy. Teardrop tattoos on their faces, and a desperate look about them. But my friend recognized me right away and came to say, "What up?" His friend immediately asked for a few dollars to get a cigar. I told him to hold up and I'll get him on my way out. The whole time in the store, I felt uneasy. It looked like they were looking for a lick, and I didn't want that to be me. So I bought a cigar and have him like $3. I chatted for like 5 minutes with him, asked about his brother and stuff. As I hoped in my car, his friend asked if we could get a ride down the street. I got in and started the car and said, "Nah, I can't." He started to insist, but my friend interrupted him and said, "Nah, my man has somewhere to be. He's got a bunch of kids that are probably crying lol." About 2 weeks later, 2 bodies were found smoldering along a popular jogging trail. The convicted murderer was the guy with my friend. The bodies were found within walking distance of the gas station I saw them at. My friend hung himself about a month later. Both of those guys confessed to friends and family that they didn't know how to act outside of jail and that they didn't feel like they were ready to be out. They tried to check themselves into a psychiatric hospital, complaining of hearing voices, but were turned away. The bodies were 2 high school kids who stole their neighbors' guns and were trying to sell them quick to get some pot, I believe. They robbed the kids and tied them up for days. This all happened about 5 blocks from where I was living, in a relatively safe neighborhood in Florida. A few years after high school, he was living in an apartment building that housed a lot of students who attended a small college in the town. There was a young college girl that he lived above and apparently was obsessed with. One night, he climbed down the building's fire escape, broke into her place, raped, killed and cannibalized her. He hasn't made it to any of the reunions. Well, a sad case in my hometown saw a schizophrenic kid kill 2 high school students behind a grocery store after stalking them. He killed the guy, raped the girl, killed her, and then posed the bodies. He made no attempt to escape. I knew him in elementary school, and we were all afraid of him because of his violent tendencies. He actually bit me one day and had to write an apology. At the time, I felt for the kid. It was social suicide to hang out with him, but I still tried to hang out with him after the biting incident. On his good days, he seemed like a pretty decent kid. He moved schools in 6th grade, and I never heard from him again until I recognized his name in the news article. My grandpa went to high school with BTK. He said he was a weird guy. And after high school, he loved the power a uniform gave him, whether it was as a dog catcher or as a city official. He also said he never really liked Raider. It shocked him that he turned out to be a killer, but looking back, he said it made sense. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Reddit Stories Online for more.